Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. President Pranab Mukherjee to address the nation on the eve of India's 68th Republic Day. Speech to be broadcast live at 7 p.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, calls UAE a close friend and an important partner in India's growth story. Both countries sign a slew of agreements. President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet Indians on the National Voters' Day, call elections a celebration of democracy, urge youth to register as voters and exercise their franchise. And Russia, Iran and Turkey conclude two-day peace talks in Kazakhstan's capital Astana, agree to strengthen three-way ceasefire in Syria. Well, President Pranab Mukherjee will address the nation today on the eve of the 68th Republic Day. The President's address will begin at 7 p.m. and will be telecast on All India Radio and Doordarshan, first in English followed by Hindi. India would be celebrating its 68th Republic Day tomorrow. The preparation for the same is on in full swing. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, will grace the Republic Day celebrations as the chief guest this year. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted people on the National Voters' Day, calling elections a celebration of democracy. The Prime Minister urged every eligible voter to exercise their franchise. He also called upon the youth to register as voters when they turn 18. In a series of tweets, the Prime Minister Modi greeted the Election Commission and saluted their important role in India's democracy. Meanwhile, President Pranab Mukherjee also spoke about the significance of the National Electoral Day. He called the Election Commission India's first instrument of governance. He also congratulated the Election Commissioners of India for their contribution in strengthening the country's most important democratic process.
This is the first instrument of governance. After 190 years of the colonial rule, because all the laws were enacted under the authority of the British government, people of India had hardly any say. Therefore, I do feel it is significant that on 25th January we celebrate the Voters' Day.
Moving on, now India and the UAE inked agreements in various fields, including one on allowing the Gulf nation to fill the country's strategic storage facility in South India. Calling the energy partnership an important bridge in the bilateral linkages, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said it contributes to India's energy security. Both nations also decided to elevate the bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership.
India and the UAE signed a slew of agreements signifying the progress in bilateral relations. Highlighting strategic importance of the UAE, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the nation an important partner in India's growth story and a close friend.
Security and defense cooperation have added growing new dimensions to our relationship. We have agreed to expand our useful cooperation in the field of defense to new areas, including in the maritime domain.
The agreements are in a diverse field ranging from defense, maritime transport to cyberspace and social spheres. Chief among these are the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and the UAE. MOUs between the defense ministries, cooperation in combating human trafficking, partnerships in the field of small and medium enterprises, agriculture, oil storage and management, among others.
Our convergence can help stabilize the region, and our economic partnership can be a source of regional and global prosperity. We exchange views on developments in West Asia and the Gulf, where both countries have a shared interest in peace and stability.
In his speech, the Prime Minister highlighted the shared cultural history of the two countries. Scores of Indian citizens also live in the UAE. In August 2015, UAE had agreed to increase its investments in India to $75 billion, including through a dedicated infrastructure fund. The two countries had also agreed to raise bilateral trade by 60% by 2020. India is hosting Abu Dhabi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as a special guest for the Republic Day celebrations on Thursday. Media reports said a unit of the UAE Armed Forces, including Army, Navy, Air Force and the Presidential Guard, will also be marching with their Indian counterparts on the 26th of January parade. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, senior JDU leader Sadat Yadav refused to apologize for his controversial remark where he said that the honor of a vote was above the honor of a daughter. Yadav said his comment was not sexist. He said a person should be as loyal and faithful to his vote as he is to his daughter. The former JDU chief made the remarks at a function in Patna on Tuesday. He was emphasizing the importance of votes. Yadav repeated his view a second time before ending his 30-minute speech with an appeal to people not to sell their votes. While political leaders said there was no controversy left after Sharad Yadav's clarification, women's rights activists across the nation condemned his remarks.
जो लोग भी इसको जिस गलत संदर्भ में लगा रहे हैं वो ठीक बात नहीं है। हमारा तो जितना ईमान बेटी के साथ उतना ही वोट के साथ रखना चाहिए, तब देश में बढ़िया होगा, तब इस देश का विकास और अच्छे लोगों का, अच्छा देश बनने का, अच्छा समाज बनने का रास्ता बनेगा। और ये एक दिन से नहीं बोलते हैं, 25 साल से बोलते हैं। ये
शरद यादव इस तरह की भाषा का इस्तेमाल पहली बार वो भी नहीं कर रहे हैं। वो तो पहले भी उनकी वजह से आज तक महिला आरक्षण विधेयक पास नहीं हुआ, वो तो जहर खाने तक के लिए तैयार थे। तो महिलाओं के खिलाफ जिस तरह वो खड़े रहे अपनी पूरे राजनीतिक जीवन में और फिर भी महिलाएं उनको वोट देती रही हैं, ये एक तरह का विरोधाभास है राजनीति का और लोकतंत्र की हमारी एक दुर्गति है कि ऐसे लोगों को मानना पड़ता है।
के बारे में इतनी निचले स्तर की स्टेटमेंट करना इन नेताओं को शोभा नहीं देता। मुझे तो इस प्रकार कहना है कि ये हो या इसके पहले भी जो नेता महिलाओं के इस प्रकार की टिप्पणियां करते हैं, सब महिलाओं ने इनके ऊपर ही जो है विरोध करना चाहिए। एक वोट भी इनके लिए नहीं डालना चाहिए, तो इनको पता लगेगा कि महिलाओं की ताकत क्या है।
ये बताने की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी कि जो वाक्य उन्होंने बोला था उसका अर्थ क्या था? सवाल यही उठता है कि पहले ही बार में जब नेता बोलते हैं तो वो महिला विरोधी वक्तव्य क्यों लगता है? क्या वजह है कि ऐसे बयान आते हैं जहां पर महिलाओं को या पुरुषों को भी उठकर कंडेम करना पड़े कि जो एक पर्टिकुलर नेता ने कहा वो गलत कहा या सही कहा?
There's a roundup of the other national news and nationwide. The Supreme Court will hear the petition of the Animal Welfare Board of India and other animal rights organizations challenging the new Tamil Nadu law on the bull-taming sport jallikattu on January 30th. In their applications, the group said that the new law has overreached the earlier verdict of the apex court. An officer died after an army unit was hit by an avalanche in northern Kashmir's Gandarbal district on Wednesday. In another avalanche, 4 members of a family died as their house was buried under snow in Gurez sector near the line of control in Kashmir. Authorities in Kashmir issued avalanche warnings for higher reaches of the valley following fresh snowfall and advised people to stay away from the mountains. An inmate was killed and several others injured as prisoners clashed with each other during a jailbreak attempt in Goa on Wednesday. Over 45 convicts in Sada sub-prison in Vasco da Gama city reportedly attacked a prison staff as police attempted to stop the prisoners from escaping. Extensive damage was also caused to prison property. Well, let's now shift focus and bring you the latest from the poll-bound states. Uttar Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav on Wednesday sought the support of people in returning to power. While addressing a rally in Lakhimpur district, he said that the people should back them as a second innings in power will ensure the good work done in his first stint. Now, the Samajwadi Party leader warned the people against the BJP and the hopes it generates. He also asked the people to go through the party manifesto and said if voted to power again, 1,000 rupees per family will be issued to 1 crore people.
55 लाख महिलाओं को दे रहे समाजवादी पेंशन। आने वाले समय में सरकार बनेगी, एक भी गरीब महिला नहीं छूट पाएगी जिसको समाजवादी पेंशन से ना रोके। और साथ ही साथ ये फैसला लिया है कि जो पेंशन पाने वाले लोग हैं और उत्तर प्रदेश में 1 करोड़ लोगों को 1,000 की पेंशन देने का काम समाजवादी पार्टी करेगी, सरकार बनने के बाद करेगी।
Well, the Congress has named Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in its list of 40-star campaigners for the UP Assembly election. The move comes in the backdrop of speculation about her likely campaign for the Congress Samajwadi Party alliance candidates. Priyanka has confined herself to Rai Bareli and Amethi Lok Sabha constituencies represented by Sonia and Rahul in the past, which fall under the second phase of UP polls. Other Congress campaigners include Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Party General Secretary Ghulam Nabi Azad, UP Congress Committee President Raj Babbar and former Delhi Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit. Former Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar, former Union Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde, Party General Secretaries Janardhan Dwivedi, Ahmed Patel, Kamal Nath, Mukul Vasnik are also on the list. The first phase of the 7-phase UP Assembly elections will begin on the 11th of February and end on the 8th of March, with counting on the 11th of March.
जब भी इलेक्शन होता है तो हर बार प्रियंका गांधी जी स्टार प्रचारकों में रहती हैं और ये अलग बात है कि वो अपना पूरा कार्य क्षेत्र केवल रायबरेली अमेठी तक ही सीमित रखती रही हैं, लेकिन अब की बार हम उम्मीद करते हैं और उन्होंने संभवतः सहमति भी दी है कि वो रायबरेली अमेठी के बाहर भी प्रचार करेंगी और कांग्रेस पार्टी और समाजवादी पार्टी गठबंधन की सरकार में अपनी अहम भूमिका निभाएंगी।
कांग्रेस की नया डूबते दिख रही है, इसलिए उन्होंने ये विषय कोई नई विषय नहीं है। हर एक चुनाव में उनकी लोगों के मन में आती है कि फलाना प्रचार करने से कांग्रेस पार्टी आगे बढ़ जाएगी, लेकिन बढ़ना तो कोई होती नहीं है।
Well, with elections in Goa barely 10 days away, the Election Commission is taking all necessary measures to ensure peaceful, free and fair polls. Our correspondent Ravinder Singh Sharon caught up with the Joint Chief Electoral Officer of Goa, Narayan Navti, to talk about the arrangements.
हमने पूरे कॉलेजेस जो गोवा में है उन कॉलेज के बच्चों के स्टूडेंट के साथ इंटरेक्शन रखा था और उनसे एक ओथ हम लेते हैं कि इस चुनाव में वो तो शामिल हो जाएंगे, वो तो वोट करेंगे और उनका जो फैमिली मेंबर्स है और नेबर्स है वो भी उनको भी वो बोलेंगे कि जाके वोट करो। ऐसा तो ये चलता है। इसके सिवाय हमारे ऑफिस की तरफ से फेसबुक, ट्विटर, व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप, इस पर भी हम इलेक्शन के बारे में, इलेक्शन यानी कि एथिकल वोटिंग के बारे में जानकारी दे रहे हैं।
टूरिज्म का वक्त है, पूरा सीजन पीक पे है, ऐसे में ज्यादा लोग वोट डालने के लिए आएंगे, ये उनके लिए दिक्कत की बात नहीं होगी?
नहीं, देखो 2012 में जब हमने इलेक्शन चुनाव करवाया था उस समय भी टूरिज्म सीजन था, क्योंकि वो चुनाव 3 मार्च को हुआ था जो पीक टूरिस्ट सीजन रहता है। इस बार भी फरवरी है, पीक टूरिस्ट सीजन है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि पूरा चुनाव शांति और अच्छे ढंग से हो जाएगा।
यहाँ पर बहुत कम, अभी तक केवल 15-16 लाख रुपए तक ही का कैश या ड्रग्स पकड़ी गई है, जबकि जो 5 दूसरे स्टेट्स में चुनाव हो रहा है, 4 वहां पर लाखों करोड़ों रुपए की अभी तक पकड़ी गई। तो ये क्या लगता है कि यहाँ की जनता ऐसी है कि आप लोगों की सख्ताई के कारण ऐसा हो रहा है?
नहीं, हर बार चुनाव के समय वो ड्रग्स हो या और कोई पेडलिंग हो, वो बहुत कंट्रोल में रहता है। गोवा में तो जब चुनाव डिक्लेयर हो गया तो हमारा पहला ये था कि हमने सभी बैनर्स निकाले, और दूसरा है कि जो लॉ इन्फोर्सिंग अथॉरिटीज है उनको बोल दिया कि जो इलीगल एक्टिविटीज चल रही है, यानी कि ज्यादातर मड़का डांस यहाँ थे, सभी बंद करवा दिए हैं।
इस बारे में कुछ जो राजनीतिक दल है वो भाषा की बात कर रहे हैं, और तो आप लोग इस बार चुनाव में किस तरीके से उन पर कड़ी नजर रखेंगे, और खासतौर पे जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आदेश आ गया है?
नहीं, ये तो पहले भाषा के बारे में पहले चल रहा है था, लेकिन जब से चुनाव डिक्लेयर हो गया है, यहाँ से गोवा के लिए जब चुनाव डिक्लेयर हो गया है, तब से उन्होंने भाषा का नाम या भाषा का रेफरेंस देना बंद करवा दिया है।
Well, here's a roundup of the other election-related news in Polpuri. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President Amit Shah, Union Ministers Arun Jaitley and Manohar Parrikar are among 40 star campaigners who will campaign for the party in Uttarakhand that goes to polls on the 15th of February. Prominent among the rest of the party campaigners are Union Ministers Ravi Shankar Prasad and Radha Mohan Singh. Satpal Maharaj, who has been fielded by the party from Chabakhal, will also tour the state to drum up support for the party. More than 8 lakh rupees was seized from 2 vehicles in Uttar Pradesh ahead of the state assembly polls next month. 3.7 lakh rupees was seized from Abhishek Goel, a bank manager's son, while he was taking the cash to Kotdwar from Muzaffarnagar on Tuesday. In another incident, 5.42 lakh rupees was seized from 2 Delhi-based traders who had taken the money to Saharanpur. Investigation into both incidents is underway. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will be in pole-bound Punjab on a 3-day visit to campaign for the party candidates in some key constituencies starting Friday. Highlights of his visit will be joint public rallies with Amrinder and Sidhu in Majita, Jalalabad and Lambi. Congress plans to go on a mega offensive against the Badals and State Minister Bikram Singh Majithia on their home turfs. Other senior Congress leaders are already in Punjab to support the party's campaign in the state. A 95-year-old woman is one of the 166 candidates who in the contest for the 9 assembly seats of Agra district. Agra goes to polls on February 11th. The candidate Jal Devi filed her papers from Kairagarh assembly seat, while her son Ramnath Sikawar also filed as an independent on Tuesday. It's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
In the Lutyens bungalow zone of Delhi, there is a perception that you are not a favorite of the central leadership. Why?
I was a disciplined soldier. I am a disciplined soldier. The people of the state would be giving the mandate.
Because Aam Aadmi Party is very clear that they are an anti-casino culture party, but BJP's stand has been that of a flip-flop.
We are unnecessarily being tarnished. All the 6 casinos which are floating in Mandavis is the gift of Congress government.
Watch to the point with Goa Chief Minister Lakshmikant Parsekar only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Russia, Iran and Turkey agreed to strengthen a 3-way ceasefire in Syria at the end of the 2-day talks in Kazakhstan's capital Astana on Tuesday. The meeting was organized by Russia and Turkey. It was attended by the Syrian government and the armed opposition. A nationwide ceasefire has largely held in the country despite pockets of violence. The meeting also worked at paving the way towards United Nations-led political negotiations in Geneva on February 8th. The 3 nations agreed on a trilateral monitoring mechanism to ensure full compliance with the truce, which has been in place since December 30th last year. However, Syria's opposition delegation said they are not party to the agreement and have many reservations. This was the first time the Syrian government and the armed opposition came together at the negotiating table since the start of the conflict nearly 6 years ago.
Expressed their conviction that there is no military solution to the Syrian conflict and that it can only be solved through a political process based on the implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 2254 in its entirety.
So the issue here is not about who is happy and who is not happy. The issue here is that finally we have a consensual paper called Final Communique or Final Declaration, agreed upon by everybody. This is the result. This is what we should care about.
Well, US President Donald Trump has invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit the United States later this year. The two leaders spoke on the phone last night at 11:30 p.m. Indian time and discussed issues such as trade, defense and terrorism. Besides this, they also discussed security in the region of South and Central Asia. Trump's telephone call comes 4 days after the Republican president took oath as the 45th President of the United States, with Prime Minister Modi being the fifth leader he spoke to after assuming office. The White House said that during the call, President Trump emphasized that the U.S. considers India a true friend and partner in addressing challenges around the world. It added that President Trump and Prime Minister Modi resolved that the US and India stand shoulder to shoulder in the global fight against terrorism. Prime Minister Modi later said that he invited President Trump to visit India. He also said that they agreed to work closely in the future to strengthen ties. However, Trump's Buy American, Hire American policy and plans to clamp down on H-1B visas has caused some unease in the Indian IT industry. Well, here's a roundup of the other international news and global buzz. MPs are stepping up calls for the government to publish its plan for Brexit in a formal policy document. Many Conservatives MPs have joined Labour in asking for a white paper on negotiating objectives, arguing it will allow for a fuller debate. The move comes after the Supreme Court ruled with an 8-3 vote that MPs must approve a decision as significant as leaving the EU. At least 13 people were killed today in the Somali capital Mogadishu when a suspected suicide car bomb rammed into the gate of a hotel shortly before a second bomb was detonated as security forces and journalists gathered at the scene. The second blast was caught by a Reuters camera. A number of journalists were injured by the bomb blast. According to Andalus radio station, Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the attack. At least 5 people were killed after a fire broke out at a fireworks warehouse in central China. Reports said that the fire occurred late on Tuesday at a 4-story building in Yuyang City after a customer lit up firecrackers he just bought outside the warehouse. More than 80 firefighters along with 14 fire engines rushed to the spot. And finally, some sports news now, where the men's and women's singles semi-final lineup at the Australian Open is decided. Serena Williams is on course to her 23rd Grand Slam title with a chance of playing her elder sister for the title. On the men's side, Roger Federer will have a tough fight in compatriot Stan Wawrinka, while Rafael Nadal will play Grigor Dimitrov.
Serena Williams remained on course for her 23rd Grand Slam title, quelling the challenge of Britain Johanna Konta 6-2, 6-3 to reach the semi-finals of the Australian Open. This is the 8th time she has reached the semi-final at Melbourne. The 35-year-old American served up 10 aces and thumped 25 winners over 75 minutes on the Rod Laver Arena. 9-seed Konta stood no chance against Serena as the latter powered her way through. Konta only managed a single break in the second set. Williams also was not at her accurate best and did get furious about it, but she channeled the anger to overcome 25-year-old Konta and reach her 34th Grand Slam semi-final without having given up a set in 5 matches. If Williams wins her 7th Melbourne Park title on Saturday, it would assure her of a return to world number 1 to replace ousted champion Angelique Kerber. Williams will now face 34-year-old Lucic Baroni 18 years after their last meeting in 1998. The Croatian has had a fairy tale run so far, entering the semi-final with a 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 victory over 5th seed Karolina Pliskova. Lucic Baroni's only other Grand Slam semi-final was against Steffi Graf at Wimbledon in 1999. In the men's singles, Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov dismantled 11th seed David Goffin 6-3, 6-2, 6-4 in the quarterfinal to advance to his second Grand Slam semi-final. Goffin saved 2 match points, trailing 5-3 in the third set, but Dimitrov was able to serve out in the next game and clinch the win in 2 hours 12 minutes when he blasted a backhand winner down the line. The 25-year-old Bulgarian, whose previous Grand Slam semi-final was at Wimbledon in 2014, will meet Rafael Nadal in the last 4. Nadal won his quarter-final match in straight sets, beating third-seed Canadian Milos Raonic 6-4, 7-6, 6-4. The victory sends the 14-time Grand Slam champion to the semi-final at Melbourne Park for the 5th time, while Raonic fell a match short of matching his semi-final run 12 months ago. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's it on this newscast. Have a good evening.